The winless streak is over, the road streak continues, and history, check, has been made. Welcome into PHRY Union Podcast. We've got Tyler Zulli, JP Zapata, myself, Renee Washington. JP, listen, for as frustrated as we've been at times with the Philadelphia Union, they got a much-needed win this past weekend over one of the worst teams in MLS in the New England Revolution, but a win is a win is a win. And with that, the 6-game winless streak for the Philadelphia Union has officially been snapped like a potato chip, and they are back in the win column. And this might be, hopefully, the win they needed, a nice 3-0 shutout victory. We'll talk a lot more specifically about the great positives you take away from that game, and even from the midweek loss to NYCFC, since we haven't had a chance to talk about it on the show together. But yes, a win.
Yeah, we got to win. I'll explain a little bit why I'm not too enthused. But listen, snapping this winless streak is obviously important. Like, let's not lose sight of that. Extremely important. The run of form was not good. You snap in New England, wasn't that good of a New England squad. And we'll talk about it a little bit. Maybe Caleb Porter, maybe feeling it as well up there too. But the most important part right now, when you're talking about a team on a winless streak, is trying to snap that and trying to find that way to get back in the groove of things. Obviously, Union soccer, we're not used to this in this decade of Union soccer. So, good win, yes. I'm doing better myself. It was a good weekend. Obviously, you and I and Tyler, we were hanging out at the PHLY Phillies tailgate. That was awesome. I was the only one representing for the U. That's right. On match day, I had to. Shouts out to Man City. They won the Prem yesterday.
Yes.
So I was
back.
So on a beautiful day, Renee, I had to take advantage of it. So my fiance and my dog, we went on 2 long walks. On the second walk, though, that's after City won, right? I'm walking down the main road in Collingswood. There's a couple with Man City T-shirts on.
Oh, I love it.
They both had the Man City T-shirts on. They were celebrating. They were happy. They were rowdy. But yeah, the soccer world, it was a good one. It's been a fun year for soccer. Bayer Leverkusen, that story's been really dope out in Germany too. Man City is Pep Guardiola's final season this upcoming year. It should be interesting. Jurgen Klopp's gone. I know our buddy here, Andrew Frazier at PHLY, he's hoping Jurgen Klopp comes here to the MLS. I had to tell him, I don't think so, brother. That'd be dope as hell, but I don't know if that one would happen.
Yeah, where would always be the question. Who's going to pay? Not the Union.
I'm looking for Mourinho to come here first. I think he fits so well in the U.S. with that personality.
Oh yeah,
it'd be awesome. He makes SportsCenter every night. It'd be freaking awesome. But yes, we have a lot to talk about here, guys, with the Philadelphia Union, with beating the New England Revolution. So let's start off talking about this game here, Renee.
Yeah. So a win.
A win.
It's important that they were able to take care of business. Now, here's the thing that I want to keep for everybody tuned in on Twitter and on YouTube, and we're listening back later on podcast platforms. The important thing for the Union is when you have gone 6 games without a win, they've dropped 4 games in a row at home, which we'll talk about, to turn around and get a win over the Revs was more important for the sake that you could not lose to them. I know Sam Minton's in the chat, who you had a chance to connect with for our preview. We've been doing previews every week of the Union's matchups, bringing in somebody that covers the team. Sam, who does a tremendous job covering New England, and always love seeing your work. Sam, and you had a chance to speak about it. You could not lose to this team because if you have a 6-game winless streak that now becomes 7, and one of those 7 is the New England Revs, who are, as I mentioned, the worst team across MLS, one of the worst teams coming into this weekend, bottom of the Eastern Conference standings, and them and San Jose are competing to see who can officially be the worst. 2 wins on the year, and they just have been struggling. A -16 now officially after this weekend's 3-0 victory that the Union put on them. It would have been, I won't say the Union fan base would have exploded, but I think the Union fan base would have exploded.
I think,
like a loss to New England on top of everything else that's been going on the last few weeks would have been way more detrimental than a win. We're like, oh, great, a win. But a loss would have been like, it's the end.
Well, I told you Thursday.
Throw the team away.
When you were leaving the office, I told you, Renee, like, listen, if they lose Saturday, we might have to plan on Monday's show talking about hot seat for Jim.
Yeah.
Because that's just how the business works, right? So, like, luckily they were able to find a way to get that win because, yeah, if they were to lose, his fan base would have absolutely lost it, especially to a team that is missing pieces like we talked about with Sam. More importantly, Renee, they were down a man in this game as Spalding got the red card in that first half, which wasn't great for him at least. But no, that was definitely one that you needed to win. You know, you don't want to lose to the worst team in the league, especially when you're a team like the Philadelphia Union. And just looking into this game, Renee, coming off the NYCFC loss, that was gut wrenching for sure. You don't want to lose to your rival, especially at home. I mean, they've been losing a lot at home as of late, but especially to NYCFC, it's not fun. But one thing I want to start off with is the starting lineup. So Jim ran with the 4-4-2 diamond. Surprise. But he gave Jack McGlynn and Quinn Sullivan some rest. I thought that was important. Now, I don't think that was part of the issues, but I think having them come on the second half, young kids with some fresh legs, I thought that was really, really smart. But not a lot of people are talking about that. So you had Leon and Ali starting as your two shuttle midfielders. Now, Jack had to go into the match a little bit early because Bruno Martinez was dealing with an injury. He gets subbed out. In comes Jack McGlynn. Leon Flox then switches back to the 6. And Renee, Jack McGlynn was the best player on the pitch, in my opinion, on Saturday night. He saw the field. That was the best vision I've seen from Jack McGlynn in this thus far this season. The way he was seeing the field, those passes were crisp and precise. But not just that, he was opening up the game. Now, the attack hasn't been the main issues here for the Union, but that definitely helps when you have someone who's opening up this attack. And we'll talk about the defense because they did play much better. But I think you got to start off with Jack because Jack was absolutely spot on in that game on Saturday night. And that was a big reason why they got the dub.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Jim rolled out a different lineup. And he was talking about it post-game and just mentioning, first of all, the benefit of having Leon Flock back has been huge. And he is someone that has been a big part of this team's success in the past. So it's great to have him back on the pitch and being able to put him, whether he's the 6 or playing out wide in the midfield, wherever he is, he's a guy that adds a lot. And I know Jim Curtin was speaking about him being out 7 to 9 months. He's still working back into that impact role for this team. But I think the midfield needs him because you look at how they struggle, how they've given up goals, and how they've been unable to score goals. And a lot of that starts in the midfield, in my opinion. And I know it had me cringing watching Andres Perea on Wednesday running through the Union's midfield, a guy that could not find time with the Philadelphia Union.
For his defense on the left.
Right.
And here he's
and you saw him. He's literally set up their goal. Like he was amazing. And I know we'll talk about it because that was one of my takeaways even of like, there's talent on this team that's not getting a shot at times.
Yeah.
And so it was great to see not only Leon Flack get the start, but also seeing Ty Baribo, getting able to see Jeremy Raffanello, mixing up who's out there. These guys are on your roster for a reason. They're good enough to play. Now, they might not be 90-minute players. They might not be everyday starters, but they are guys that should be able to at least give you something off the bench. Chris Donovan, if they're healthy, play them, especially with how long the season is. So in addition to Jack's strength off the bench in that moment, it was nice to hear Jim mention, like, they were trying to rest Quinn and Jack. They did want to have them in a different role as a reserve versus as a starter. Now, instead of focusing on 90 minutes of soccer, you're locked in on, okay, I'm coming in the second half. Of course, Jack had to come in a little bit sooner, but I'm coming in the second half. And now I just focus on playing great for 25 minutes, 35 minutes. So it was good to see that they gave them a chance, as Jim was saying, to recover, but also give other guys a chance to get going. Like, you have a bench, use it. And with having Wednesday, Saturday games, you're traveling. Fortunately, this is more like local travel, but it is still travel. You can't run the same guys because that's also how this team has been struggling down the stretch, burnt out, heavy legs, injuries, all because they're fatigued. So I did enjoy that was finally a time I felt like, okay, Jim, credit to you because you rolled out a different lineup. It did work. Yeah. And it gave them a fresher look on the pitch. Oh, yeah.
No, 100%. And then I really want to bring this up because I think this is worth noting for Jack. So Jack McGlynn in 62 minutes had 51 passes, Renee. He was 89.5% on the completion of those passes. It's really impressive stuff right there. And that's what you're bringing in Jack. You're bringing in Jack into this game. It just changes the dynamic of the whole entire attack. When you have a kid with this vision and he can make almost every pass in the book there, that's so big for this Union attack, especially when you have forwards like Carranza, we'll throw Gazdag in there as well, and Ua, who can stretch out a back line. That's just the recipe for success there for this team. And you mentioned just being able to use all these players. Renee, in a month or a month and a half, we're going to talk about missing pieces because international play is going to come into play. With Copa America here in the United States, you're going to be missing guys like Gazdag, Brujo. I know Jesus Bon hasn't had a lot of play this year, but you're probably going to miss him as well. So I don't know what they're going to do. We have plenty of time to kind of talk about that, but it's something to start thinking about. So when you're talking about some of the depth pieces, I mean, Jeremy Rafinha looked really freaking good against Portland early on in the year. But other than that, Renee, we don't know much about the kid. Obviously, we talked about Bueno. He's not going to be here during Copa America time, but he's a kid that last year had a lot of minutes as a shuttle midfielder. Hasn't really got a lot of minutes this year because just the emergence of Quinn Sullivan, and you still have Alejandro Bedoya here. So it's really good to see some of these other pieces working in well. Love seeing Leon Flock, that versatility at that 6. And just in general with Leon, he's so important, right? Because when you talk about transition defense, something that they struggled with, he always knows to be in the right spot at the right time. And that's one of the best parts about a guy like Leon Flock. And when he switched back to that 6, you notice how the transition defense or transition for New England was able to attack on the same type of level that these other teams have been able to kill us at. So it was really good to see. That's something the Union definitely need to work on still. But I thought defensively overall, it looked much better here for the U, especially in the final third. But again, it goes back to my earlier point. This was a good win, like a good time to snap out of this winless streak. But it is a New England side who were missing so many pieces, and honestly, they are not playing to their standard. And quite honestly,
yeah, and there are definitely some concerns I have still with the Union, even despite the fact they got a nice 3-0 win. It was great to see them get a clean sheet, which was huge for Oliver Zemla, especially. Nice to finally get him that because he has been getting peppered with goals and honestly really tough point blank chances that he's had to make saves. So nice to see that Oliver Zemla was able to get a clean sheet. Nice to see a multi-goal game, for the Union. And as mentioned, as they snap that winless streak, they do still remain unbeaten on the road. So although they have dropped 4 home games, and this is something that's uncharted territory for the Union, first time ever in club history they've lost 4 games at home, they do still at least have 1 positive. On the road, they're taking care of business and making sure to get the results that they need. And you know where you can also take care of business and get the results that you need? That's with our friends over at Rite Aid. So Rite Aid is the place to be able to go to make sure you've got whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's last minute you've got a birthday party and you need to get a birthday card and some gift wrap, or maybe you need to run in and grab some nice cold ice cream or snack, or they've got for us that like to wear makeup and have our hair and makeup nice, JP, hair and makeup. Rite Aid's got that as well. But they also have all that you need around any sort of over-the-counter medications, around allergy season, but as well as vaccinations. So with Rite Aid, you get a chance to work with Rite Aid's pharmacists who are trained pharmacists and can answer any questions you may have to support you and helping you figure out which vaccines you need, which vaccines make the most sense for you, your family, your little ones, and most importantly, to help protect you and your family as you're trying to figure out which vaccines to look into. So Rite Aid does have the convenience of being able to, you can either book a vaccine appointment online, or you can go in and walk in. You can book online right on riteaid.com/schedule. And with the different vaccines they've got, COVID-19, shingles, pneumonia, whooping cough, tetanus, chickenpox, and many more that you can make sure to get vaccinated for. And vaccines are different for everybody. Some people prefer them, some people don't. Some people get a couple, but not all. Depending on what your preference is, Rite Aid has their specially trained pharmacists to be able to answer any questions and make you feel confident about your decisions that you make around vaccines. So you can check out some select Rite Aid stores that have those dedicated pharmacists. I love the fact that Rite Aid is easy to find. I'm a Rite Aid Rewards member myself. You can also take advantage of that, get some deals, get some discounts every time you use, or purchase anything at Rite Aid, I should say. But if you have any questions specifically on which immunizations you need, if you're not sure if you're up to date, maybe you're feeling nervous to even ask questions. Don't worry, a Rite Aid pharmacist will help you. There's no question too small. And again, you can walk in or you can schedule an appointment Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. State age and health restrictions may apply, and you can ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for more details today.
Oh, we know about the pharmacy makeup.
Oh, yeah.
It's good stuff.
Oh, you and Tyler, of course. Yeah. Of course you do. You're like regulars and getting like, your foundation and eyeshadow.
We got to wear makeup on here too. This is still TV, guys. I'm just kidding.
Some people do, actually. There are men that wear makeup.
On
TV.
That we know.
And in general, but yes, I bet on TV.
All right, guys, it's important time to let you know that we are brought to you by the BetPark Sportsbook app. That's right. Get in the zone with BetPark Sportsbook app. As you know, guys, listen, it's been a fun NBA playoffs. Not gonna lie to you. Besides the Sixers getting eliminated, but it's been entertaining now that we have the Western Conference Finals set in the NBA and in the NHL. Both conference finals are set. We obviously are in full swing with Major League Baseball. By the way, we have the best baseball team in Major League Baseball right now. And of course, the MLS is underway as well. So if you guys are watching these games and, you may think that, hey, you're watching the Union, you think Gazdag may get a goal? Well, why don't you bet on it? With the BetPark Sportsbook app, they will help you out with all your betting needs that you may have. You have your favorite line or an underdog? BetPark Sportsbook app, guys. Win big with all-day action. Win your first $10 bet and earn $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet BetParks. Download the app and play along with us today. You must be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. Well, I feel like it's only fitting for us to talk through the good and the bad that we have from the last week, because a lot has gone on for the Philadelphia Union. We've seen raccoons take the pitch.
Oh,
we've seen.
My God, I almost forgot about this.
I did not, because I actually was on the broadcast for the Gotham FC game versus Chicago yesterday, Sunday.
Did you guys bring it up on the broadcast?
I was with Callum Williams, who was on the Union's broadcast as play-by-play for the raccoon call. So of course, naturally, we got into talking about it. And honestly, I will say some people could take notes of what that raccoon was doing. Evasive, avoiding defenders, great in 1v1 situations, and honestly, great even in some situations where he was a raccoon down. Didn't have the support he was needed, but you saw him going with speed, taking on the trash can crew. And I was kind of like, wow, get him a jersey. Like, he's probably cheap. He's a little rabid. You don't know what he's always going to do at times. Sometimes he even was running off the pitch. But he covered some ground. And I was, in all seriousness, like, there are some qualities here that I hope the Union are paying attention to. But yes, the raccoon situation.
Raquinho, I saw that.
But also just even looking at from the NYCFC loss to the win against New England, there are some great things to take away from it. So positive for you. I'm going to start on the positive side. Besides Raquinho, who was also positive, with the goal against New England, Julian Carranza got his sixth goal of the season, but also he moved to third all-time in club history with 41 goals across all competitions, which is phenomenal.
It's a good nugget by you.
Yeah. In all club history, 41 goals. It's insane. But also with that, more history, because that was a record for Julian and Daniel Gazdag to score a match in the same game. Score a goal in the same match for the 16th time.
That's right.
That is the most by any pair of teammates in MLS history. So Racuna's entered the chat and is on the screen. I love it because he's already got a whole trading card. I wonder how many goals he would score.
I wonder if our sports card guy here, Chris Frezza, has this card yet, because he's gonna need this for his collection for sure. This raccoon really stole. Like, Renee, did you see what's his name? Stephen Colbert was talking about that on his night show.
Well, it's incredible because it just led me to so many questions. How did Racuña get on the pitch? Where did he come from?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Did he go through the turnstile?
Did he come down from New York?
Did he take?
Is he in New York?
Well, remember, New York had the buffalo that was in the train station, so maybe they're bringing animals with them in the train. It's not the first time we've seen a random animal taking public transportation in New York. Maybe he came down on the train. He took the Amtrak down.
The story's so Philly, though.
And it is so Philly. I was like, where did this raccoon come from? And I was just glad, like, you never know with raccoons. They might attack you or something. Like, I was just
You never
happy he
know.
didn't get, scared. The guys were just kind of chilling, standing around him. He could have, went in on a tackle. But it was nice in all seriousness that they were able to get him out. Hopefully not kill him is what I was thinking. When they put the second trash can on top, I'm like, maybe, hopefully you're not smothering him. Like, my, animal lover insides were like, but he can't breathe. He can't see.
I don't know what they did. They apparently took care of it. They brought it to the proper people to release him back into the wild, but we will see. But to your So to your point about Gazdag and Carranza, I mean that's really impressive there. I mean, for those two, obviously you see the talent every match, right? But to be able to connect that many times, it's absolutely wild. And like I look back now, like what we're now. It's been almost 3 years since Carranza's been here in Philadelphia. I still remember that trade. I remember thinking to myself, we just fleeced Miami because I knew that kid was not in the right situation down in Miami. And I knew what we were building here in Philadelphia. And we were about to unlock. It was at the time. It was Tati Castellanos.
Yeah,
that was the number one striker at the time, and we were hoping we were getting that. And listen, I still think Carranza needs to do some more in the playoffs, and that he's got this opportunity, hopefully this year. But you can't deny the stats and what he's done, the partnership with Gazdag. It's been truly impressive seeing them. But I think the best, like when you see them in transition, like for most times they are on the same page, right? And they both have that speed, and it's such a great connection. And hopefully they have more. Tyler, we have the Peyton Manning and the Marvin Harrison here, baby. I knew you'd appreciate that.
Oh, good Lord.
See, all I do there, I just roll my eyes because you just comped two of the all-time great, maybe one of the greatest receiver quarterback duos of all time.
They didn't win a ring together, so there you go.
I just roll my eyes.
Oh, man. Well, I just want to give a shout out. I know, of course, Sam was in the chat from New England, but also Will. What's up, Will? And Jillian is mentioning nothing like a raccoon bringing the whole league together.
That's right, Jill.
Yes, the MLS and all of even just anybody that's a sports person has been talking about the raccoon. I have been in so many conversations
Our friends
lately.
at the DNVR.
Yeah, yes.
They tweeted at us trying to trade Raquinho for the prairie dog.
I'll take they do need some defensive help. So if that prairie dog is able to get stuck in and, can help with the holes in the back line, I'm all for it. See what I did there?
There you go.
Could use a dog on the back line. But yes, more history made for Julian Carranza with that, again, becoming the third all-time in club history with 41 goals across all competitions. And then Daniel Gazdag, who still sits at the top of the leaderboard, he also was able to get his 8th goal of the MLS season. This is his eighth time he's scored 2 or more goals in a game. So nice to see him get a nice multi-goal game. That's not an easy feat to do. And happy that he had that chance. So those two taking care of business, combining for all 3 of the goals as the goal scorers, does help that now you look at Oliver Zemlin to get his first ever MLS shutout. And these are the positives that winning helps you with, that you can walk away from a game feeling good about. But also offensively, I will say this team, I'm going to stick with the good, has been continuously doing a good job in the attack of creating chances. Even despite the loss to NYCFC, they outshot them 24-11. They've been out shooting opponents. They've been also doing a better job with possession. Yeah. And they've been creating a number of really good chances. Love how Nate Harriel's inserting himself into the attack because honestly, he's been creating some of their best chances, whether off a service or him being the recipient of a service, a header, run of play chance. He helped create one of the goals this weekend. Him and Jack McGlynn working together on the right flank set that up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's been a lot positively to take away from the offense and how they're moving, they're creating, they're just generating good opportunities. And it's pretty soccer. They're combining nicely, and you see the chemistry is there offensively.
Yeah. So a little bit of breaking news here. So while we were live, the MLS team match day of the week was put out there. So for your Philadelphia Union, you're starting 10 of the match day team. Daniel Gazdag, he made the all MLS team here for the week. So kudos on Gazdag. He deserved it. He was freaking phenomenal on the match. Gets the goal. Renee gave you the little nuggets there as well. And Gazdag again.
Where's Racuna? How dare you have a...
You got to win, Renee. You got to
True.
win to get on this list.
And
here.
you know
Sorry.
what? He was a great spark player off the bench. Came out of nowhere. You know, you love when you have talents that just out of nowhere just surprise you. And Marcunha did that. Great spark off the bench, but it wasn't long. It was a quick flicker. So I guess maybe that does keep you off of the best 11 of the week. Bummer.
But Sam Minton deserves to be on the
Yes.
MLS Match Day of the Week here. If you guys haven't seen it, Sam kind of went viral. It's ironic after going on PHLY Union. He asked a very valid question to Caleb Porter. Now, obviously, we don't cover New England, so we don't know what's going on exactly. But we don't have to cover New England to know that if one of your center backs who had the most minutes last year hasn't seen a single minute, and you allow 3 goals to a struggling Union team, the question should be asked. And so our buddy Sam asked Caleb Porter, and he wasn't really liking that question. And so Caleb kind of went on a little bit of, I wouldn't say tangent, he was just being rude. It was just rude. It was just rude. Blankly just being rude. And I think that Sam was extremely valid in that questioning. You know, when you lose 3-0 to a team that's struggling, those questions do have to come up. Romney hasn't seen any minutes at the beginning of the year. So kudos to Sam to hold his ground. When I saw Taylor Twellman quote it, I was like, okay. But so I mean, and that just goes for obviously, like, listen, we have a bunch of independent content creators who are reporting at these games. Listen, MLS is not a lot of money yet, so for people to go out there, take their time to cover these teams, it's extremely important. So, guys, show some love to your independent content creators, especially Sam, who's getting chewed out by Caleb Porter, of all people.
Jim Curtin would never.
He would never.
But I love the fact that people are rallying to defend Sam and just say that that's rude. You know, you shouldn't be responding that way. As media, it's our job to ask sometimes the tough questions, or even to say the tough things. Like we're still talking about the good. We didn't even get to the bad yet. We're gonna have to do a quick break to talk through our sponsors and friends, but we didn't even get to the bad. It's our job to, unfortunately, sometimes talk through bad performances, overall frustrations.
Yeah.
We can't be all happy-go-lucky, especially when your team is losing. And for New England specifically to be sitting at the bottom of the East with 2 wins, 1 draw, 9 losses, they have as many losses as they have goals on the season. They've scored 9 goals and got 9 losses. That's not a great stat, to be honest, on both sides, actually. And to have given up 25 goals and be minus 16, this team is struggling. And I'm glad the Union were able to pounce on them. Despite the fact that I still was a little bit unhappy. This is where we're gonna get to the bad. I'm teetering of like the Revs are a player down. They're still creating good chances. It never felt fully like they were a player up for the Union until they finally started to like get going and that 3rd goal happened. So that's kind of all I've got, I think, for positives, JP.
Zemla was another positive. Got a clean sheet. That's got to build the confidence up.
That's a confidence builder for sure.
Again, New England's attack, missing some pieces. Carlos Hill is like the one-man wrecking show over there in New England. But I just think defensively, they did look a little more sound. I think on some transitions, they could have been a little more cleaner. But obviously, you get the clean sheet that you're gonna pat yourself on the back there a little bit. But no, I mean, with Zemla, I like what he has. But I think that obviously when you're a young goalie, you're put into the situation. I mean, for Christ's sakes, you look who he's replacing. Andre Blake, one of the best of all time in this league. So that's not easy to do. But, he's going to have those blunders. And obviously on Wednesday against New York, he had some blunders. He looked much more strong and much more confident here on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And you're just managing his mentals, in my opinion. You're trying to get that confidence because I do think he has the talent level to do that. We've seen some big saves early on in the season from him. So I think for right now, it's just building up that confidence for Zemla. And that means the team has to, again, do a good job of playing good team defense. And I thought we saw that here on Saturday. And that's why he gets a clean sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well-deserved. Great to see him finally be able to walk off the field with 0 in the most important stat of goals against, and your first clean sheet ever in the MLS. And he's had a lot put on him with Andre Blake's injury. And we're not positive the timeline for Andre Blake, but it's good that Oliver Zemla...
He was questionable Saturday.
Right.
So
I think that's more of like if needed, absolutely needed, sure. He should be working back from getting the fluid drained from his knee and be closer to a return, but you don't want to have to rush him because he has had, in the course of the start of even this season alone, a number of knocks that he's taken that's been various body parts where it just seems like overuse. So for Oliver to have a chance, get the confidence built, because after even the last stretch, a lot a lot of people are constantly saying, would Andre have saved that goal Oliver gave up? That's naturally what you do when it's a backup keeper in net. But to be honest, I just feel like it's bigger than Oliver Zemla, the problems that we're seeing with the Union right now.
No, 110%. I mean, you can't expect an Oliver Zemla to come in and do some of the saves and some of the things that Andre Blake does. That's another thing too. Like Andre, when he's back there, you know, you feel his presence. And obviously, it's not just the saves he makes, but he's vocal. He tells you after a good shot by a team, he's telling you, hey, you need to be in that position. That's the type of stuff I haven't seen a lot from Oliver Zemla. Yeah. That's what Andre does so well. So it's going to come with time. You definitely feel better about that. Jill's saying it right there. Not going to lie, it was refreshing getting to joke with Jim in the post-game presser on Saturday after the last few games. And that's the thing with Jim. Like, I think Jim does a good job of just understanding the other side, just being compassionate, right? He gets it, like, especially with some of the report, like he's been here since 2015. He knows when there's a new reporter in the room, and he wants to make them feel comfortable because he wants to keep growing the game. That's the important parts. I always love telling the story about the CCL when we played Club America. You know, Club America, they took over our stadium. We got killed. We're leaving the stadium. Jim sees, a family walking on the highway with Club America stuff. Jim picks them up and takes them to their place.
Amazing.
Like that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. But it's really cool to see Jim understanding for sure. Unlike Caleb Porter. The problem is Caleb Porter just smells himself a little bit too much. When you win 2 MLS Cups, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I guess. But it was very refreshing to finally have a chance, and it's been refreshing to finally have a chance to talk positively about the team. Because it's been a lot of gut-wrenching, frustrating losses and things like that.
It has been tough. But you know what's not tough, guys? is getting you some of that Ollie Pop, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I'm going to give some kudos here because on Saturday we were at the PHLY Phillies tailgate. Renee was literally the spokeswoman for Ollie Pop, and it was honestly made me want to buy a case, and I do these reads here. But it was awesome. Cavs Cater did a fantastic job. Obviously, these workers, they can't drink, right? They're not drinking beer on the job. They're hard workers. They wanted something to drink. So we were offering Ollie Pop. I kid you not. These guys came over at least 3 to 4 times for Ollie Pop. They were downing these like they were beers. It was freaking awesome to see. And they came back every time. They were saying, "Oh, you got a new flavor for me? These things are freaking awesome." And we were telling them, "Yeah, you guys got to substitute this as your new drink here." But here's the reason why they loved it. They loved it because it's a functional soda. Has that classic soda taste, but it has the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients that support that gut health, guys. So it keeps you healthy, nice and clean, guys. And the soda only has 2 to 5 grams of sugar and has 9 grams of fiber per can, and that's where our health nuts absolutely go crazy for. And the best part about this, guys, it's accessible to get. All right, they're available in over 30,000 different retailers, including their new launch at our favorite. They're at Wawa, ladies and gentlemen. So you can get your cup of Joe in the morning, get your Ollie Pop for lunch. It makes the world go round. But they're also available in Target, Sprouts, Wegmans, ShopRite. You can order it, go puff late night, you name it. And of course, right now we got you covered with the promo code. If you use the promo code PHLY20, you'll get 20% off your next Ollie Pop order. However, this discount only applies to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. And Ollie Pop is sold online at drinkollipop.com and on Amazon as well. So next time you got a pizza night, you got a hoagie night, you're going to a tailgate, you're not looking to drink, think about Ollie Pop, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it was definitely great to see our friends out there at Ollie Pop. And so many people get to try it out for the first time. And awesome. The other thing is when we tell you guys, I feel like about these great products and businesses, it's sincere, and it's people that are right in our backyard that are creating great opportunities for you to be happier, healthier, or even more financially responsible. And our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union help with the financial side because you want to make sure your body feels good, but also your pockets are taken care of. And TrueMark Financial Credit Union is very unique because they give you better rates, lower fees, a better return on savings, more flexible options, and they also have the technology where you can have right on your phone access to some digital tools that make your lives easier. Over at TrueMark, they also are located right in our backyards. Their headquarters is in Fort Washington, but they've got 24 branches in the Philly area, serving our community and our people right here at home. And with TrueMark, you become a part of something bigger. You become a part owner. So now as you're joining a credit union like TrueMark, your money is going back to you. Profits are coming back to you versus going to shareholders. So being able to be financially responsible and ensuring that your money is coming right back to you, another positive. So when you become a member of a credit union like TrueMark, you get tons of benefits over being a customer at a bank. It's a total no-brainer. We've had our own conversations here at PHOI about someone, I'm not going to say any names, but someone sitting right next to me that had issues with his bank. And if he was had originally just been at TrueMark, that would not have been the case. So TrueMark with local roots, great opportunities for you to be able to take advantage of their digital tools, low fees, better rates, and also just to be able to help you financially. So you can head over to TrueMark.com/PHLY. Again, that link is right here on your screen to experience the benefits of the credit union like TrueMark. Head over to TrueMark.com/PHLY, learn more, find a branch near you, and get started today. Again, that's TrueMark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's tuned in. I know on Twitter, we are live as well with a lot of you guys here. Great to see you guys, I should say, tuning in to join us on YouTube and Twitter to talk about the Philadelphia Union. Between the Raccoon and them finally snapping a winless streak and also continuing their road streak, it's been great to see something small, even something as simple as Jose and Jillian are mentioning in the chat and co-signing on the refreshing part of a post-game conference that's not all negative. So it definitely been some positives to take away from, and is that Bebo Pop? There's a lot of B's and a lot of P's in that, but you're mentioning how you're still feeling a little bit stressed from the past few weeks, and the way that the Union has been defensively is stressful, absolutely. And you're also talking through tactically if maybe it's time for the Union to tweak their formation, looking into, some sort of a mixture of maybe a 4-3-3, or maybe you're saying like a 3-2-3-2, so like basically a 3-5-2. That is a conversation that's worth having. I was definitely I'm trying to look at each game through a different lens and not be overly negative, but there are some keys that have me frustrated. Last two nuggets, though, positively, before we move into some of the not so positive, is the fact that the Union have now won 13 matches against New England in all MLS competitions since 2018. That was a rivalry at one point that was annoying, but not really as much anymore. That is the most wins against an opponent of any team in that time. So more minor history, I guess you can say. And then Daniel Gazdag is, of course, still chasing some history. He's one MLS goal away from tying Sebastian Letou, the club legend, who's going to be joining us on the show in a couple of weeks, actually, live in 3 Mondays. I
can't wait.
But he's also now chasing the all-time MLS goal list. So there's the all competitions, and then there's the MLS specific. But with all the offensive improvements that we're seeing, it's weird how it's switched. It's like a pendulum. We've talked so much about the defense being the backbone of this team and then needing to get going offensively, and it's now switched. And you see offensively, they're creating. They're out shooting opponents. They're generating opportunities, not always finishing them, but they're getting some really good chances. Even goals called back, Jack Elliott. There's been a lot of great positives offensively. Defensively, I think the biggest things that I've noticed that I was taking note of is the fact that we do know it's only going to get rockier very soon. You've got things like the 2024 Euros and international competitions that are coming up. There's going to be more traveling. Guys are going to be leaving to go over, represent their countries. And so you're going to need others to step up. And you want to at least be in a good place when that happens, that the foundation is there. And the defensive foundation is on quicksand right now. For whatever reason, and I watched again, I try to watch from different angles, even on the pitch, of watching the ball, but watching off the ball. And JP, so many times that there are players running unmarked into the box against the Union. And it's not just the back four, but the back four is not marking anybody. The midfield, that's why I like Leon Flock in the midfield. The midfield is getting caught in transition, lost. They're not out there like Racuña under the lights. They're like a deer in the headlights, just completely lost. And they're nowhere to be found. And I was watching NYCFC did it. Andres Perea, of course, as I mentioned, the chances he had and created, he's wide open. And then even against New England, a man up where you can essentially double team some spots on the pitch. Instead, you're seeing guys wide open down to the final play. In stoppage time, Oliver Zemla had to make a huge save. because a player's running wide open. You cannot allow guys, whether on the ball or off the ball, because there's sometimes they're not closing down shooters, which also led to a goal, not closing down shooters, but not marking up, and sometimes just assuming that Oliver's going to make the save. And I watch at times, there's players running in that if Oliver was to bobble it, it's a goal because everybody's getting caught ball watching. And that's even like the set piece goal that happened over over Oliver's head, and then it did go over Jack Elliott's head back post. Like there's so many plays where they're just kind of like watching the ball instead of disrupt that, break that up, like stick a foot out. The first goal, Jakob Glesnes, great build up by NYCFC. But I'm going to take us back to Wednesday. On that first goal, under 2 minutes in, the build up there, the defense completely disorganized because Kai and Nate both keep getting up the pitch at the same time instead of one staying home and one going. They're both out of position. The midfielders are all pressed up, and there was nobody. So now you have Jack Elliott is pressuring the first out of position. Jakob Glesnes is tracking back, and that ball that gets whipped in behind him, he doesn't even stick out a leg or anything to try to break up. And it's like, who do you expect is going to clear that? If you're watching the ball go past you, who's supposed to clear that next ball? And I think too many times it's almost that you got it mentality instead of I would be okay with if in that beautiful buildup, it was a great play by NYC. Both of their goals were really nice. I'm going to give them credit where credit is due. But I don't mind you giving up a goal if the effort is there. So if on that first goal, for example, you see Jakob Glesnes maybe try to slide or he's reaching, trying to break that pass up instead of essentially watching it go by, and now you're watching it go in the back of your net. You cannot have this against any team in the MLS. There's too much talent for you to be watching the ball go through your back line without trying to disrupt it and at least break up its path. So I don't know why they're getting caught ball watching a bit, but Santi Rodriguez to Alonso Martinez shouldn't be that clean. That second goal shouldn't be that easy if you at least try. Like, I just want the effort to be there, essentially. Make it harder for them to score. Yeah,
one thing we've always talked about is when this team is playing with high intensity, everything just works well for them. Defensively, I do think that, yes, they need to play 90 minutes. You talked about that one Zemel save at the end there. Like, listen, if that's a different team, we could be talking about a different type of story from Saturday night. Luckily, you're facing off against New England, who are missing a lot of key pieces, and their attack is not that stout as it's been in prior years. And luckily, you were able to walk out of it. But yes, a lot of the issues has been, I think, that positioning. A lot of times this year, their position has been off. That I think a lot that has to do with the intensity level as well, playing all 90 minutes. When you're playing with high intensity, like you react quicker. You're able, like Renee is saying, going to that, breaking up that play instead of just ball watching. I think has a lot to do with intensity and communication. I mean, a lot of these players are talented enough to play in this league, right? So fundamentals are an important part about that. Having that communication is so big. I haven't felt that a lot throughout this entire season. That's been a lot of the issues, which is so weird because Renee, you're talking about a team is running it back for 3 years. How are we talking about communication on the pitch? Like that type of stuff is absolutely crazy. But I want to hope that as we get into the summer months, and we always talk about this, especially with this Jim Curtin team, when we get into summer months, the goals start flying in the net, and hopefully that also helps with the defense as well. We're at May. Memorial Day weekend is this weekend here, so hopefully now that after the Charlotte match, things become clean. We know that this team is good. This team should not be we should not be talking about a 6-game winless streak. Obviously, great that they snapped out of it, but it's great that they were able to snap out. But we shouldn't be talking about a 6-game winless streak. So hopefully, this is exactly what they're going to need to push forward. But I mean, obviously, there's some good. I mean, you talk about Julian Carranza earlier. That goal against NYCFC, that free kick goal, absolutely beautiful. And that's what we're talking about. That's why the attack has not really been so much. My main concern about the attack is in the clutch moments, which we worry about that later on down the line. But defensively, it has to be picked up. And I think that it will get picked up here as we get into the summer months. But it's just uncharacteristic things. You got to play with intensity, guys. It's that simple for this team. And that's a good point for Bebop Pop. I like that. Bebop Pop. You got to figure that out because I don't know if you can run with the 4-4-2 diamond when you're missing the likes of Gazdag and El Brujo. And then Quist is bueno for that matter as well. So I'm curious to see how Jim kind of roams with that. You obviously don't have a lot of natural wingers. I don't know what Marcus Anderson's injury status is these days, but that is one you would consider as a natural born winger along with Quinn Sullivan. So there is the possibility there. But that would mean the Union would have to steer to something that they haven't usually done, and that's a formation that would require wingers. We haven't really done that since Ernst Sanders been here, so it should be interesting. But they are going to have to start thinking about that, Renee.
You bring up a really good point, JP, because as you talk through the beautiful set piece goal, Jack McGlynn rolls it perfectly for Julian Carranza to be able to finish. Even though you look at the goals against New England, clinical, great goals of Daniel Gazdag on both times, finishes his run and is able to get a rebound. Julian Carranza finishes his run, is able to finish a service for, off his head for a beautiful head ball goal that honestly just bounced out the goal. Like, it happened so fast. That was Jack McGlynn again that served that into the box. And so they are offensively scoring. And that's what I think makes it so much more polarizing on the defensive struggles, because to have 25 goals coming into this week that you've scored, and that's top of the league. They're top 5 in goals scored, but they're also one of the bottom, and I don't have it exactly, but if I did a quick glance, they are also at the bottom of the league in goals against. And a big reason that's why I know I keep harping on the defense is you're almost giving teams goals. Like the goal that even both set piece goals, the NYCFC goal that Wolf scored and the goal that Julian Carranza scored, beautiful goals. If you're going to have a set piece goal like that, it's hard. It's hard because as I used to take set pieces myself, you practice that over and over and over again. And it almost is more on the attacker to mess up because the chances of the goalkeeper saving them are very slim if you hit it the right way. So I can give credit there. I can give credit even when you score just a really good clinical goal. But to have these times and the tweaks that I feel like are, like I mentioned, you're getting caught ball watching, you're getting caught flat-footed, you're getting caught in transition because everybody's pressing forward and you're not doing a good job balancing it, whether it's Jose and Leon in the midfield or your outside backs being more aware of who's pressing forward so the other can maybe stay a little bit more home. You're also getting caught with your center backs. At times, Jack and Jakob at times were caught very much out of position. And honestly, Nate and Kai were too. And not just in transition. There were times Nate and Kai were not in a good spot positionally. And so you're leaving those passing lanes open. And your role, you're not man marking all over the pitch. So I just want to clarify, I'm not expecting that because that's not how you play soccer. You don't man mark like this close to your guy.
This is not Matias Almeida with San Jose.
No, but the way you're supposed to defend is your first defender is pressuring the ball and everybody else is dropped off in a help position where they're able to step if the pass is made, but they're also able to help if your teammate gets beat. But then on the third piece of that, which is what the Union is missing, you're cutting off the passing angle. So you shouldn't allow, unless it's a safe pass back, you don't want to allow your opponent to play through balls where they're splitting your defense. And the ball that Andres Pereira played that led to the first goal for NYCFC was a huge gap. He was able to split, get forward, and they scored. And that's more, as much as that end part of the goal was great with how Santi Rodriguez timed his pass into Alonso Martinez, it's Pereira that starts that. He breaks the line of pressure. The Union, and I watched it a few times, the Union are caught flat watching. They're like cones. You have to do a better job of angling your body so that you're keeping the play in front of you and you're not allowing them to split you. So it's frustrating because these are very minor tweaks. Like, they have the speed, they've got the talent, they've got the leadership. The communication just needs to be better, period. But it feels like their body positioning is always off. Facing the wrong way, shoulders facing the wrong way, retreating the wrong... Minor tweaks, to be honest. But it's causing them to be one of the worst teams across the league giving up goals. It's caused them to drop games. It's caused them to have to battle more even. In some of these games that should be like a 1-0, 2-0 lead, but you're always chasing from behind at halftime.
I'm being honest. The Pereira situation last year made no sense to me.
And it still makes none.
Because, I get it, the midfield depth, but the kid was actually helping you when he was in the match. And just think about it. I always say this, I love that we married ourselves into this philosophy, into the style of play, because if you look at some of the best teams in this league, they have their philosophy set and they build around that. But like you also do need to, Renee, like especially when you're talking about depth, you're talking about bringing in pieces off your bench. Like having guys like Pereira who gives you a different dynamic, a different look. Like that's things that I genuinely would love to see more of. Having someone come off the bench. That's what they were trying to do with Joaquin Torres. They were bringing in Joaquin Torres to give you something different coming off the bench to throw off defenses. So that whole situation, quite honestly, just did not make sense to me. But to your point, yeah, the Union are tied for 5th with the most goals allowed. They're tied with the Red, which ironically, 2 of the most defensive-minded teams have allowed 21 goals this season. It's ironic too, is that behind both of them is Miami. They've allowed 20 goals this year, but the thing is that they scored 36 goals with Messi, Busquets, and Alba,
Making it a shootout.
and Suarez. So that, yeah, you don't want to do that either. Well, I mean, I guess it helps when you have those players, but yeah, it's crazy how it does work, but. Yeah,
so they're bottom 2 for goals against.
So they're in the top 5. The worst team right now, goals allowed, is Montreal. They have 31 goals allowed. Chicago, New England, DC are ahead of New York and Philadelphia right now. And obviously those 4 teams, we all know they have bad defenses. They've had bad defenses for a minute now. It's like it's absolutely wild. Bebop.
Bebop bop. I finally figured it out. Bebop bop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I had to see it because the B was, I was getting lost in the letters. But go ahead.
Yeah, so they are saying, I would have liked to see fresh blood on that back 4, at least someone that can sit back and learn from our core 4. Also,
I know.
What's going on with Javier Berdicio? Oh, that's so funny. Well, we have to tie in Union 2 here because number 1, big win against New England 2 yesterday. But our boy Macahania scored a goal, Renee, for Union 2. That's someone you guys were looking for to break that up. I mean, listen, the thing is that we all need to remember is that you're talking about Jakub Glesnes, who, yes, we know he's not playing his best this year, right? But he won MLS Defensive Player of the Year before. Jack Elliott is an MLS Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Damian Lowe had a solid season last year, and obviously you're not taking him out of the depth chart, so that's kind of the tough part about it. It's like, okay, I understand your line of thinking, but when you talk about the resumes of these players, how do you throw that off? And yes, they did spend money on the under-22 initiative with Macahania, so that definitely does make it interesting. But Berdicio, it's going to be another interesting topic after the season's over, Renee.
Yeah, I know Jill's mentioning how he's just doing okay with Union 2 and he's gotten cooked there a bit as well.
But he's on a loan, though.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
It is. And I do appreciate the chance to see, the guys get minutes with Union 2. Chris Donovan, another one, he actually was named the MLS Next Pro Player of the Match Week.
He had a good match,
He scored
too.
twice.
Yeah.
Yep, he scored twice for the Philadelphia Union 2. So for week 10, he was named that, which is incredible to see him getting those minutes. And that 3-1 victory, as you mentioned, over New England's second team as well. He scored in the opening 2 minutes. So great to see like the confidence that's getting built there for guys like Chris, Macahania, actually, I feel like is what I thought it was, Macahania.
We're going to need a pronunciation
I know.
person.
I think I had it down, but it's been a while since I've said his name. And now I'm like, but I thought it was when he did his
all the way through
Macahania. Yeah, all the way through Macahania.
Just make him into a dish. Macahania.
No, his name is all the way through Macahania.
I think
he
you're right.
said it, and I remember it, but I haven't talked about all the way through for a very long time, and so I'm not gonna lie, I low-key forgot. But I think it is the K and H is Ka.
Okay.
Like King to Ka.
Jill,
but yes.
Jill saying bigger questions. What's going on with Bueno? Decisions went against him, probably. Again, depth, right? Like, how do you put him in front of your longtime captain and a kid who's balling out of his mind right now? And Quinn.
So I have a very unpopular take with the midfield in general. I think aside from Jack and Quinn, everybody else is battling and nobody's should be guaranteed 90 minutes.
Okay.
So
for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I think between what I would love to see, I think is Ali Bedoya, Leon Flock, because Leon's still working back from injury, Ali being older, Jesus having potential, and Jose, I think, is struggling. Like, I've been saying this for a little while now, but I think Jakub and Jose are the 2 guys that I feel like are struggling because you know what you should get from them, and you're not getting that. So I honestly feel like those four, I'd kind of had them on a rotation, like 60-30. I don't know about 45-45 or you play half a game, but I'm rotating them until somebody shows me that they deserve more, because I don't think any of them are giving you, like, Ali is solid, great veteran, obviously. He's just limited in knowing that, like, in a full season, you can't count on him every game for 90 minutes because he is older. But I think, to be honest, Jose is running into that. And I feel like what the issue is for Jose and Jakob, I think they're trying to do too much. Like, I think, and Jack Elliott's getting caught sometimes in between as well. I don't know if it's this push to score and even obviously to win games, but I feel like they're getting caught in some uncharacteristic plays, runs that I'm like, where did this come from? We've never seen this from you. And Jakob is a step slower, and so is Jose, that there's times that they're getting just outrun. They're getting beat to the 50-50 ball.
Long term this season, should we be concerned about them?
I'm a little concerned, to be honest. I'm a little concerned. Yeah, I know Jillian's saying that she feels like Jose is struggling a little bit as well, and how maybe some injury. Definitely probably the best that Jack came in for him on Saturday. Yeah, it does feel like there's, as we know, Jakob had the injury and the surgery last year for the sports hernia. Jose gets injured all the time. He unfortunately struggles to stay healthy. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not feeling 100%.
It's valid. It's valid to ask because I know we forget, but like they are getting a little older.
They're older.
You know,
they're the 30 plus. Well, Jose, I forget his age actually.
And again, back to like the whole running it back conversation. These guys have played a lot of soccer over these past 3 seasons too. Like that's the thing. Like we make the joke about running it back, but it's because like these guys have played a lot of soccer these past 3 years. They're obviously not getting any younger as well. They're both in their late 20s. We all know how the sport can work. So it is definitely valid things to kind of bring up here. I mean, it's just tough with this midfield because I do think Jesus obviously played really well last year, but I don't know if he's done enough to get into that starting lineup. But even to the point too, like I hate like questioning Jim, but like if it were any other player, like what you brought up with El Brujo Martinez, like that's extremely valid. It's like, why is he starting, right? He's not playing well. I feel like Jim feels like at any moment, El Brujo's going to be El Brujo. But that same line of thinking hasn't happened for guys like Andres Pereira or Joaquin Torres. Like these are different examples that we're just talking about. But like that's why like I just don't understand that line of thinking. Like you show me what you got in training, you show me what you got in the matches too, and that's how you determine your playing time. But like El Brujo's not playing well. I don't know how he's in training, but he's not playing well in the match. So it's interesting the way that thinking works.
Well, Jose is 29, and Jakob did just turn 30. I knew he had a birthday recently in March, but more importantly, in soccer years, the mileage that's on the tank is really high for both of them. So in addition to them possibly just not being 100%, not being fully fit, it could even be an endurance thing, to be honest. I also just feel like this is where it gets problematic to run it back. Other teams are bringing in fresh legs, hungry guys. Someone like Andres Pereira goes to NYCFC determined to show, I should have been getting more minutes. He's been learning, he's been watching, he's been training with the Union over the years, but not getting the opportunity. He's now getting the opportunity. He's making the most of it. And even just hearing, as we were talking with Christian Polanco about their group, guys like Kevin O'Toole, you know, they have so many young players that are really taking that next step. The Union have that. Jack McGlynn, Nate Harriel, Quinn Sullivan. But when you think about it, it's not enough. That back line especially has been the same group year after year. And it's getting a little bit stale and predictable that I think other teams have their number. They know that they've got the film out on them. They know they've got the playbook and know how to beat them. And I think they're just getting exposed because you've got so much talent across the league that is determined to prove like, oh, Jakob Glesnes, you were a defensive player of the year. I'm going to beat you. And that's that hunger and that fire. It doesn't feel the same for them. You know, I feel like they're kind of getting caught at times, ball watching, going through the motions, or just trying to do too much. So that's why I like Damian Lowe back there. I think he does make sometimes some mistakes that are questionable, but he's got the pace. And I think he just plays with a little bit more intensity and energy. And Jakob's given, let's not forget the goals that Jakob has absolutely caused and given up. Or even when you look back on it, he's the final guy. Now, it's not all on him. It gets through the whole team, but
You're 100% right. And this is in every sport, right? every year is different. You have to have a different type of, even like the
Right.
champions of the league prior, you have to have a different type of game plan every single year. That's why, like, when we were doing the offseason shows, Renee, like we were talking about it, like, as good as Kai Wagner has been, and I'm not saying Kai's been the problem with this defense, but it's just the whole chemistry. It's the whole psyche with this team. Getting in fresh faces, some fresh blood every single season bodes very well. Having Ali back is not hurting. Ali has been a great leader on the bench. And also, too, I mean, like, when he's in there, he brings you that fire. He brings you that energy. So that was fine. But, like, throwing a different type of wrench into that team is something I definitely wanted. Now, again, Kai hasn't been the main problem, but when you're talking about these type of issues of running it back, you need some fresh blood, and they just don't have that right now. So we'll see how this plays out. Overall, as we move on here to Charlotte, listen, this is a good win like I talked about, but I still think there's a lot more work to be done here, Renee. And there were some things, like, they got lucky that they ran into a New England side that's a mess right now. It seems like it's a mess right now. But we'll see how they move forward. They have another Charlotte team that, they're kind of in a weird spot too. That we don't know where their season is going to go. And we'll see if the Union can continue on. Maybe we get another winning streak going. Maybe we get a 6-game winning streak and we forget about this moment here and everyone's give them a 5-year contract, such as the whole starting 11.
It went from an unbeaten streak to a winless streak very fast.
God.
And as Jim mentioned, one of those streaks that they are now trying to snap is the fact that they dropped the last 4 home games. The Union, as Jim was saying post-game, despite the excitement of winning against New England on the road, still frustrating and even possibly causing him to lose some sleep over the fact that, this team has not been able to do well at home.
Us too, Jim.
And that's a big goal for them to get back in the win column at Subaru Park, because to make club history in all the wrong ways of 4 straight losses at home is not good. Unfortunately, 3 of their next 5 games over the next month are at home. So from now to June 19th, the 5 games that they have are at home. The positive of that number, if you really pay attention, is 5, because in the next almost exact month, since today's May 20th to June 19th, they do only have 5 games. So we are going to have, like, this week, they only have 1 game to worry about. Next week, of course, they do have 2 games again. But they also are getting a little bit of a slowing in the schedule somewhat, which should hopefully help that you have some breaks that are built in and some time to recover and be fresh. Hopefully that is what this team needs. Good time to get a nice winning streak going, get some goals scored, get some clean sheets again, more clean sheets, and see if over the next, stretch they can start righting the ship back at home specifically.
Absolutely.
Anything else, JP, as we wrap up and send the good folks off for the rest of their day?
Stay tuned. Obviously, make sure you guys are hitting that like button. We do appreciate it. We appreciate everyone tuning on in for your soccer fix here. We're going to have another show here this week. We'll announce that. Make sure you guys are following us at PHLY_Union. Charlotte's always interesting because obviously you get Daniel Rios moments and sometimes we beat them too. So hopefully this Saturday is a big dub, but let's get this train rolling. That's the important part. Get the train rolling.
Keep the good times rolling. But yes, as JP mentioned, our preview show, we are every week bringing you guys previews of the upcoming Union match, where we are bringing in people that are working on the grassroots level, closely covering the teams that the Union are facing that week. So last week, of course, was Sam Minton from New England, who does a tremendous job. We had Christian Polanco for NYCFC.
We got Sam viral, guys.
Exactly. So for Charlotte, we'll be previewing that game later this week as well. So stay tuned for those details. Make sure you guys are subscribed and following. We appreciate all of you that tuned in live on Twitter and YouTube today. Of course, if you're following us on Twitter at PHLY_Union and subscribing on YouTube, you can always stay up to date on the latest around our Union talk, but as well as our other PHLY shows. So it's been a pleasure. Victory show, finally. It's been long overdue. Let's hope we've got many, many more winning shows to talk about for the Philadelphia Union here on PHLY Union. For Tyler, JP, myself, Renee, have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see you guys back very soon to preview the Union taking on Charlotte for the Saturday's game. Bye, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.